Today we are going to discuss the idea of decentralized planning. Planning refers to creating a political and socio-economic roadmap for a country. It is a mechanism to allocate resources between organizations, and this method is very different from the market allocation method. Economic planning is usually associated with socialism as it replaces markets with direct allocation of resources that is operated straight from the government. The government organizes a special agency which is led by bureaucrats and has an executive head. It is established to take into account various data points, understanding the context of the country's economic development, and it establishes a plan. Whether or not the plan is centralized or decentralized depends on the level in which the plan has been formulated. For example, if the plan has been formulated by the central government, then the plan is centralized. If it had been planned by local level governments, such as state or county level, then it is called a decentralized plan. Now let us understand the meaning of decentralization as well as decentralized planning. Decentralization is a process by which the activities of an organization, especially those regarding planning and decision making, are distributed or delegated away from a central or authoritative group. Concepts of decentralization are utilized in a lot of sectors such as businesses, politics, public administration, economics, and even technology. With respect to politics, decentralization refers to delegation of authority to lower levels of government. Planning done by a centralized government is not always feasible. Why? Because the center is usually away from remote areas and therefore is not privy to many information or data that might be required for development of a particular remote area. Also, because the central government is very far away from remote areas, the locals of that area find it very difficult to control the government process and maintain accountability. Because it is so far away, financial issues arise, both because of communication as well as difficulty in raising revenue locally. Therefore, decentralization refers to the freedom that local governments get to plan their own expenditure. This decentralization refers to raising revenue or expenditure of money to a lower level of government while maintaining financial responsibility. While this process is also called fiscal federalism, it is relevant to all forms of government and not just federal government. While a government might get freedom to plan for itself, that freedom often gets restricted. This is because generation of revenue is also now made the responsibility of local governments. This is not always possible as different areas have different geographical and socio-economic conditions, and not all regions will be able to gather revenue on its own. Therefore, even though freedom is granted for decentralized planning, planning mostly remains an endeavor of the central government. Now let us discuss the features of decentralized planning. The first feature of decentralization is that it reduces the burden on top executives of an organization by delegating the responsibilities to the lower levels. Because of this, the top levels of management get to focus on other endeavors. It could be fiscal planning or human resource planning, or greater time it can devote to important endeavors. Secondly, decentralization allows far more accurate information and data collection. This is because the lower level members of an organization are far more closer to the ground. They are in charge of field offices. It's their duty to interact more with people, listen to them, and understand problems far better than a person who is sitting miles away. Because of this, the government can take far more accurate decisions. Thirdly, decentralization allows the government to react quickly to problems. Fourthly, decentralization of authority ensures greater nourishment of leadership among people. When people are allowed to make decisions on their own, their aptitude is enhanced. That's why when local governments are given greater decentralized decision making capacity, their aptitude is increased, participation in politics increases, and greater prosperity emerges. Fifth feature of decentralization is that it encourages diversity and accepts a larger number of ideas. A centralized authority figure, because he is located in one area, has a very limited vision of a problem and can give only a limited number of ideas. However, if greater number of people are consulted in decision making, greater number of ideas are available, which allows a more creative solution to a problem. That being said, there are some negative features of decentralization as well. First of all, there is a lack of uniformity when it comes to planning. A lot of lower level officers, especially the field officers, they come up with their own ideas and work according to their own prerogative. This often ends up creating chaos rather than planning. Secondly, effective decentralization requires highly trained manpower. For this, a lot of money and resources has to be invested to train recruits effectively. Why? Because in order to decentralize power to lower level officers, you need competent manpower who have the capacity and the aptitude to take decisions that will affect an organization or a country at a strategic level. Thirdly, decentralization often causes conflicts. This is because authority and decision making capacity is distributed equally in many centers. This causes a problem in decision taking as everybody has their own idea on what the right thing should be. Now let us come to the objectives of decentralized planning. The first objective of decentralized planning is effective implementation of poverty eradication programs. India is largely a poor country. About 21% of the population lives below poverty line according to World Bank figures. In order to reduce that, power and decision making capacity has to be given to the lower levels of government who are closer to the people and have greater information about their needs and requirements. Second objective is to ensure balanced regional development for meeting needs of the people. India is a large and diverse place. Every region has its own language, its own culture, and its own requirements. Thereby, a decentralized government planning system allows every culture to organize themselves in their own way. Finally, ensuring active public participation in the development process of different sectors. Indian economy, being a very diverse place, requires public participation. Any economy, if it is to thrive, requires an active population. When people are interested in political matters, greater economic policies are formulated by the government. Now let us discuss the Panchayati Raj system. Panchayati Raj system in India is a local self-government system for the Indian villages. This system is an ancient system that has been going on for centuries now. In modern times, however, or to be specific, the post-independence era, it was established and given constitutional status after a long phase of deliberations. Many committees were established. Some of them were Balwant Rai Mehta Committee, Ashok Mehta Committee of 1977, and then finally LM Singhvi Committee. in 1986. Finally, in 1993, Panchayati Raj systems were given constitutional status through the passage of the 73rd Amendment. A three-tier system, which is operating at the village level, also called Gram Panchayat, block level, and district level, was created. So, why are panchayats important? Panchayats help in establishing links between villages and towns. Since a village has very low employment prospects, which are limited to a certain sectors, a villager can easily travel to a city and get jobs and earn money. A panchayat also provides a villager with education, healthcare, and welfare by building schools, uh, hospitals, dispensaries, and provide welfare schemes. Panchayat also turns planning a bit more realistic. This is because it can coordinate between local resources, skills that villagers have, the manpower has skills, and the requirements of the villagers are coordinated very well. So, if active participation of local people is promoted, it helps bringing about greater coordination and better accountability. Under a panchayat, wastage of resources can be reduced to a minimum. This is because people participate in these developmental activities and they keep a closed watch over the utilization of funds as well as its implementation. Panchayat also shows a greater trickle down effect when it comes to poverty alleviation programs. Various projects are selected which generate productive employment opportunities that help in reducing poverty. Panchayat also helps in raising the level of social services in a village. It does so by launching various programs in the sector of health, nutrition, drinking water, education, and implements it in a far effective and quicker manner. Finally, decentralized planning that a panchayat provides helps in utilizing various non-conventional energy sources, which can be solar power, wind, animal waste, etc. This is very essential as a village is an agrarian area, and agrarian areas are environmentally sensitive. Thank you for listening. Now let us solve some multiple choice questions. Question 1. Which amendment of the Indian Constitution created a three-tier, that is three-level panchayat system? A. 73rd Amendment, B. 93rd Amendment, C. 101st Amendment, or D. 77th Amendment? Correct answer A. 73rd Amendment. The 73rd Amendment was passed by the P.V. Narasimha Rao government in 1992. It was based on on suggestions from multiple committees such as Balwant Rai Mehta Committee of 1957, Ashok Mehta Committee of 1977, and finally the L.M. Singhvi Committee of 1986. Narasimha Rao government created the 9A part of the Indian Constitution, which was added additionally by the 73rd Amendment. Question number 2. Which of the following is not a feature of decentralized planning? A. Lack of uniformity. B. Less trained manpower can be employed at work. C. It nourishes leadership. Or D. Encourages diversity of ideas. Correct answer is B. Less trained manpower can be employed. One aspect of decentralized planning is that it requires a highly trained manpower. This is because when you decentralize authority and decision-making capacities to lower level offices, you need highly trained manpower or workforce to be able to take decisions that will impact the society as well as the institution at a strategic level. The other options lack of uniformity, nourishes leadership, and encourages diversity of ideas are actual positive features of decentralized planning.